Gamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. So the pounding will continue. What we will do in this session and the next, what's ahead of us is this, that we will continue with Atma Anatma Vichara, which we had done in the last session. In the first session, we were trying to discern the self from the not self, especially the qualities of the not self. What are the not self? The upadhis. We're trying to discern the self from the not self. This is discernment. This is called viveka. And this viveka, it has to be it's subtle. It has to be done carefully. You see why? It's like the objection. We'll see the objections which will come now. You are pure consciousness. You are not the body, mind, and so on. The objection will be, I feel yellow, I look yellow. How come you're saying I'm not yellow? How come you're saying I'm not yellow? So, if you remove the flower, it becomes obvious. Without removing the flower, the difference between the yogic method and the Advaitic method. I remember I was in the Himalayas in Gangotri, and there was this young monk I met, Shivahari Giri. He was meditating. He used to stay in a cave above Gauri Kunda and meditate. And so I used to talk with him. He was a young Nepali monk, barely 20-21 years old. And very simple boy. He had this dramatic top knot and a little beard, and would sit there and meditate. And he would say, and the setting was very dramatic because you had this towering mountains, a big cave, and a sheer drop 200-400 feet below to the raging water, the Gangotri, the Bhagirathi going past there. So very dramatic, and the Deodar forests all around, and the glaciers far above. So he said, yeah, I sit there and meditate. I like it very much. Why? He says, all these Bengali tourists, they come from the other side and take my photo. So I said, what do you practice? He said, I do Patanjali yoga. I'm trying to attain samadhi. And I have a predilection for Advaita. So I said, what about Vedanta? Aapko Vedanta kaisa lagta hai? How do you like Vedanta? And his answer was a typical yogic answer. See, what the yogis say about Vedantins, what the Vedantins say about the yogis. So it's a little bit, don't take it too seriously, it's a little humorous. So I said, what do you think of Vedanta? His answer was, वो लोग बहुत बात करते हैं, अनुभूति नहीं है उनमें. Those people talk a lot. Retreats, seminars, lectures, books. They don't have spiritual experience. We are trying to attain spiritual experience by this. You see? And what do the Vedantins say about the yogis? What's the point of sitting quietly? Ignorance is the problem. You must generate knowledge. Knowledge will remove ignorance if I sit quietly. It's like you sign up for a course in the university You want to learn physics. You're ignorant about physics and you want to remove your ignorance about physics. You want to learn physics. And the professor tells you, well, here are the handouts. You come to the lectures, listen to the read the handouts, listen to the lectures, and then sit quietly and think deeply. Just sit and think about it deeply, quietly. You'll get it. And if somebody says, oh, that sitting quietly is the final thing. If I do that, I will get it. So I won't come to the class, I won't read the handouts, I'll just sit quietly. Will you get a PhD in physics? No. You will not. That will not work. That's the Advaitic, Vedantic criticism of the yogic approach. And both I'm oversimplifying. This is not really serious. What the yogi tries to do is this. Now I'm going to do my own little more sophisticated Vedantic criticism of yoga. I'm going to do. Yoga means here the yoga of meditation, Patanjali yoga. So what the yogi tries to do is that to appreciate myself in my nature as pure consciousness, Purusha, I must remove Prakriti. Then see, it's clear. So, Yoga Sutra says, Yogaschitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the movements of the vrittis in the mind. Then what will happen? Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. Third sutra in Yoga Sutras. Then the witness consciousness remains in its real nature. See? If you remove the yellowness in the water, it remains in its real nature. What is the real nature? Colorless water. What is the real nature? Pure consciousness. Otherwise, what will happen? If I don't do Chitta Vritti Nirodha, if I don't meditate, if I don't have Samadhi, what will happen? Vritti Sarupya Mitaratra. The pure consciousness remains pervaded by, identified with the vrittis. Anger, lust, greed, unhappiness, all of that. I am hungry. I am angry. I learned after coming to the United States that you have to ask people, how are you? You're not really expected to give an answer. That also I had to learn. Not a detailed description of how things are. You have to say good, and then you have to ask, how are you? Yeah. That also I had to learn. People would say to me, how are you? I had to say good. And then they would wait and nothing more is forthcoming. So, alright, how are you? And then somebody replied recently, I'm hangry. What is hangry? I'm hungry and angry. Hangry. Generally, if you are hungry and then there's something irritating, you feel more angry. So that's hangry. This is the hangry state. Now, what Patanjali Yoga wants you to do is to remove the vrittis and see yourself as you are. What is the Advaitic objection to this? You can do it, it's perfectly alright, it will work. But the Advaitic objection comes at two levels. One basic and second one is more sophisticated and fundamental. The basic objection is, if you do this, it is only a temporary solution. You do this, it will go away. But after a lot of effort, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, it will go away, but again it will come back. You will come out of samadhi and you will feel that I need to go back into samadhi again. It is temporary, a temporary relief. Again, remember, this is an Advaitic criticism of yoga and it's not a particularly sophisticated criticism. There are replies to this also. Because what would be the reply to this? The yogi will say that, see, remaining in samadhi is actually not the goal of yoga. It is to generate what is called viveka khyati, the knowledge that Prakriti and Purusha are different. Okay. But a deeper criticism of yoga would be this: why are you trying to remove the upadhi? You have a feeling that the water is really yellow and therefore you want to remove the yellowness from the water. But what Advaita Vedanta wants to say is the water is not really yellow. By doing this and by doing this, you have not achieved anything at all. What you get after removing this is exactly what was there when this was there. This is the point that Advaita wants to make. Alright. Now, you will see these objections will start coming up. What we just said, many objections will start coming now. What is going on now? The pounding. The trying to realize that, like the water trying to realize, I am not yellow even when it looks yellow. I, the consciousness, trying to realize I am not the five koshas and their attributes even when they are appearing. Even when there is body, mind, all of this is there, still I am not them. Okay. Then the 18th verse. Vyapriteshvindriyeshvatma Vyapriteshvindriyeshvatma Vyapariva vivekinam Drishyate abhreshu dhavatsu Dhavan iva yatha shashi. As the moon appears to be moving when the clouds move in the sky, so also to the non-discriminating, Atman appears to be active when in reality the senses are active. So the objection here is, it is not true that you are the pure consciousness beyond all action. When there is action, talking, walking, thinking, the Atman, the self, it participates in that action. You get the clear feeling, I am sitting, I am listening, I am walking, I am talking. All these activities, I am there. Yes, senses are active, mind is active, and I am also part of that activity. It's not true to say that all these activities are appearing in me, but they are not in me. Not true. This is the objection. Now what is the answer? He gives an example first. First see the example. Very nice examples. And this is a very particularly poetic and dramatic example. Imagine a night, bright moonlit night, but also stormy. So there are clouds moving fast across the sky because of the stormy wind. We have all seen this, or most of us would have noticed, how the bright moon appears to race across the sky. Abhreshu dhavatsu, when the clouds are racing across the sky, it seems that the moon is moving. The movement of the clouds is now superimposed, adhyasa, on the moon. What is the upadhi? The moving clouds. What are the attributes? Attribute is the movement, fast movement of the clouds. But where does it appear? Just like yellow appears in the water. Where does it appear? In the moon. To us, the observer. Similarly, he says, all these activities, the senses, eyes are seeing, eyes are involved in seeing, the ears are involved in hearing, the mind is involved in thinking, there are emotions, there are memories, all of them are superimposed on the Atman. The Atman is like the moon, and the senses and the mind are like the racing clouds. The movement of the clouds is imposed upon you. So you feel, I am doing, I am thinking, I am suffering, I am seeing, I am hearing. None of them belong to you. So let's look at this. Vyapriteshu indriyeshu. When the indriya senses are active, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, they're active. Atma vyapari iva. Vyapari in our Indian languages means trader. Here it means transaction, any kind of transaction. It seems the Atman is engaged in transactions, hearing, seeing, talk. Atman means self. It seems so obvious. I am seeing. How can you say I am not seeing? How can you say seeing has been superimposed on me? Object appears, senses appear, and then the subject seems to be the one who is seeing the object through the senses. But this whole thing appears in consciousness. How can you say that? It's like that water, it is saying, I am yellow, look. I am a yellow, I am experiencing myself as yellow, and you are saying I am not yellow. So, here is this, Vyapriteshu indriyeshu atma. When the senses are going on acting, atma vyapari iva. The Atman seems to be active. For whom? Avivekinam. Those who are not discerning. Those who have undergone this process of pounding. They know even when the yellow color is appearing in the water, it is only appearing. Water is colorless, completely colorless. Even when the senses are active and I seem to be active, I am talking, walking, and yet I know I am not active. I am the consciousness in which this activity is appearing, not even going on, appearing. Avivekinam, those who are not doing viveka, discernment. What is this viveka? It is said, viveka is vivich prithak karane, to separate two things. Now, the two things, when you say separate, the first impression is two real things are there. One and the, but here in Advaita Vedanta, one is real, one is not real. Rope and snake, they are not two real things. Not that a snake is sitting on a rope and you have to somehow pull it off. No, it is the rope appearing as the snake. The only way to separate the two is through knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of the ground of that illusion. What is the ground of that illusion? Rope. See the rope, you realize it's not a snake. Notice that the ground of the illusion is the colorless water. What is the illusion? Yellow water. Avivekinam, Vivek, from where the word Vivekananda comes, the one who delights in the discernment. Swami Ramakrishnananda ji wrote a beautiful hymn to Swami Vivekananda. It starts off with Anitya Drishyeshu Vivichya Nityam Tasmin Samadhatta Ihasma Leelaya Viveka Vairagya Vishuddha Chittam Yosau Viveki Tamaham Namami. Ramakrishnananda, he is saluting Swami Vivekananda. I salute that Viveki. He says, I am saluting Vivekananda. Who is Vivekananda? Is that Viveki, the one possessed of Viveka. What does he do? Viveka means that ability to separate. Anitya Drishyeshu Vivichya Nityam. From this mass of ever-changing Drishya, we did that Rigdrishya Viveka. From this mass of ever-changing Drishya, ever-changing the display of this world, who can separate the Nitya, the eternal, the Atman from the Anatman, self from the not self, the reality from the appearance. Anitya Drishyeshu Vivichya Nitya, who is able to separate, not physically. It's like separating the yellow color from the water, in your understanding. And then, second thing, he adds, see, here is the combination of knowledge and meditation. Tasmin samadhatta ihasma leelaya. Having separated the real from the unreal, the eternal from the non-eternal, he is able to absorb his mind in samadhi on that eternal. How? Leelaya, like play, just like that. It's easy for him. We have to first of all get our minds around this difficult idea that even though the water looks yellow, it is not yellow. Even though I seem to be walking, talking, eating, thinking, remembering, enjoying, suffering, I am the same unchanging pure consciousness. This idea itself is difficult to grasp. Having grasped that, to remain centered and samadhista, to absorb the mind in that witness consciousness, not to allow it to go out again to the objects, drishya. They're very difficult. And Vivekananda does it leelaya, like play, just like that. Why is he able to do it like play? And why we can't do it? The next line says, Viveka Vairagya Vishuddha Chittam. The mind has been purified by this Viveka and Vairagya, dispassion. The fourfold qualifications which we started in the first shloka, that is so strong in Vivekananda, because of that purified mind. The moment the discrimination is there between the real and the unreal, eternal, non-eternal, he gives up the non-eternal, gives up the unreal, and becomes steady and absorbed in the eternal. We have problem at every level. First of all, to grasp this idea, then to separate it. And even if I grasp it, I will say that after the retreat, it's all become confused again. And having been able to separate it in my understanding, to remain centered in it, to such an extent that the non-eternal is forgotten, it disappears from my horizon. So difficult for us. And that purification is necessary. And that's the reason why the other yogas, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and regular meditation are necessary. Otherwise, a clarity will come. Vivekananda says, by this path, this is a direct path. But he says, in this path, many understand, many come to an understanding, few realize. Why do you not realize? Because of the lack of preparation. Not the fault of Vedanta, lack of the groundwork. Number 19. Number 19. Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya Dehendriya Manodhiyaha Swakriyartheshu Vattante Suryalokam Yatha Janaha. The body, senses, mind and buddhi engage in their respective activities with the help of consciousness, which is inherent in the Atman, just as men work with the help of light that is inherent in the sun. See, inherent in the Atman, the wording is dangerous. That is the Atman. Consciousness which is the Atman. Atma Chaitanyam. Atma which is Chaitanya. Ashritya. So what is the issue here? The issue is, so now you are saying, there's objections, objections to the pounding. Now you are saying all these activities belong to the body and the senses and the mind, not to Atman. So thinking, seeing, willing, feeling, all of these belong to the senses. Who is doing? The senses or body is doing. Who is thinking? The mind is thinking. Who is enjoying and suffering? The mind is enjoying and suffering. So let the mind be called consciousness. Why are you calling the Atma consciousness? Every activity, every sign of consciousness is there in the senses and the mind. Let the mind and senses be consciousness. Why at all bother with the Atma? This will lead straight to materialism if you do that. Now the answer is given. No, it is not the senses by themselves who are doing all these activities. It is not the mind and intellect who is active, thinking and understanding by itself. It is not the body by itself which is going around doing all this. All of it depends on Atma Chaitanya, consciousness. Depending on consciousness, in the presence of consciousness, not without consciousness. So consciousness belongs to and indeed is the Atman. And because of your light, all of this is happening. Without your light, this will not happen. We tried that experiment. Without seeing, you are there. Without hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, you are there. If you don't think, remember, understand, feel, you are still there. But if you are not there, there will be no feeling, no remembering, no understanding, no experience of that. No experience of that. This is the crucial difference between you and, say, a robot powered by AI. It can do all the things that you are doing. I give the example of the self-driving car I saw in San Francisco. We were driving along, somebody else was driving me, and next to us a car pulled up. Nobody is there. No driver, no passenger. Just pulled up. And as we are driving, it also went along with us and then overtook us and went away. Now, it is driving just like you. It is able to take all the decisions. It is aware of its environment. Aware means quote unquote. So behaviorally, externally, it will deliver the same performance as a human driver or even better. But what's going on there? Is there any internal experience of driving? When you are driving, you have an internal experience. You hear the sound you hear. You see the road and other vehicles. You see the instruments in your car. Thoughts are going on in your head. Feelings are there. The feeling of sound and sight and the feeling of taking decisions whether to turn or stop or take the exit and so on. All of this is going on in your mind. You have a first person experience of driving. That robot does not. You cannot call it conscious. You are conscious. The human driver is conscious. That robot is not conscious. And someone might object. How do you know? I don't know. You ask the experts, those who designed that car. Did you design it for vision? Yes. Did you design it for sensing the environment? Yes. Did you design it for decision making on the road? Yes. Did you design it for consciousness? Wait, what a minute. What did you say? Did you design it for consciousness? No. Not only that, I have no idea what you are talking about. All these conscious activities which we are undergoing, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, talking, decision making and all of that, these can be modeled. But consciousness itself cannot be modeled. Why not? I often ask this question. There is no answer. Nobody has been able to give me an answer. See, driving a car is a complex thing in an environment. Vision, creativity, these are complex things. And yet, robots and AI is able to do that. Now, ChatGPT can write stories, compose poems. I asked ChatGPT to write a poem for me about Swami Vivekananda. Did a good job. Maybe I could have written a better poem. But what I cannot do. I am a devotee of Swami Vivekananda. What I cannot do, after being a monk for nearly 30 years, is that ChatGPT can do. What can I not do? If I can write a poem about Vivekananda, ChatGPT also can write a poem. But next minute I said, write another poem about Vivekananda. It did it. And if you ask every minute to write a poem, it will give you a new poem about Vivekananda. Can I do that? I cannot. I have a limitation. So creativity, in one sense, it's delivering the output. So all these are sophisticated and difficult things. Now ChatGPT can do, AI can do, these machines can do. Compared to that, consciousness is very simple. What does consciousness do? What is the function of consciousness? How do you know that you are conscious? You have first person experience. You are feeling something. That first person inner experience we have, that is consciousness. That's simple enough. That one can't be modeled. Why not? Nobody, not only it cannot be modeled, nobody has any idea how to achieve that. No AI person, no neuroscientist, nobody. These are simple, basic questions. You don't need Vedanta for that. This shows why there are serious lacunae in our understanding of mind and consciousness. So, now he says here, Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya. It's only by depending on consciousness, Atman, which is consciousness, Deya Indriya Manodhiya, the senses, the mind, the buddhi, all of them act and you have the first person experience of sensory experience, thinking, feeling, understanding, which no machine will have. They can replicate thinking, they can model it, but they don't have that inner first person experience. Then next, number 20. Dehindriya gunan karmani Dehindriya gunan karmani amale satchidatmani adhyasyantya vivekena gagane nilatadivat fools, though not through non-discrimination, superimpose on the stainless Atman, which is existence and consciousness absolute, the characteristics and functions of the body and the senses, just as people attribute such traits as blueness and concavity to the sky. So let's take a look at the example here. When you look up at the sky, especially now, notice one thing, it looks blue. But it isn't blue. And it looks concave like this, like an inverted bowl. But it's not an inverted bowl, it just looks like that. So those who don't understand, a little child might say the sky is blue. Or if there are clouds, the sky has become dirty. And the sky is like like a bowl. Now the bowl shape and the blue color are attributed to the sky. And if you really think the sky is blue, if you really think the sky is upside down bowl, then this is aviveka, lack of discrimination. When we read a little bit of physics, we understand it's just a phenomenon caused by the scattering of light there, that it looks blue at this time, it will look red at the time of sunset, and so on. So, this one, the concavity and blue color, they do not belong to the sky. They have been imposed upon the sky. From the perspective of the sky, if you ask the sky, are you blue? Of course not. Are you concave? Concave. How can I be concave? I am formless. So, just like that, this is the example. Just like that, Deha Indriya Guna Karmani, the attributes and actions of the body, senses and mind are imposed upon the Atman. Amale, the pure Atman, which does not have a form, which does not have activities, like the sky, which does not have a color, which does not have a concave shape. It is imposed by, just like the yellow color of the flower is imposed on the water. It looks like that, but it isn't so. It looks like that, it isn't so. It isn't so. Adhyasyanti, it is superimposed. By what? What is the cause? Aviveka. The lack of discernment. Lack of discernment. Now, another view is brought forward. This is the Nyaya view. Nyaya Vaisheshika view, basically. It says that they agree, we are not the body, and Atma does not have a shape, or even though I feel that I am body, I am old, young, I am tall or short or black or brown, whatever, it all belongs to the body. They agree. But they say things like I am happy, I am enjoying, I am suffering, these belong to the Atma. Why? Because they are directly experienced in connection with the I. I mean, if you actually look at the experience, I am happy, it seems a direct experience belonging to the I. There is happiness and I am that happiness. I have that happiness. So the Nyayikas say these things belong to the Atma. Not what do the Advaitins say? They actually belong to the mind. They are being superimposed on the Atma. So this view is now discussed in 21 and 22. Ajnanatmanasopādhe Ajnanatmanasopādhe Kartritvādini Chatmani Kalpyante ambugate Kalpyante ambugate chandre Chalanadi yatham bhasaha. As the movement that belongs to water is attributed through ignorance to the moon reflected in it, so also agency, enjoyment and other limitations which belong to the mind are falsely attributed to Atman. So it's split up into 21 and 22, 2 verses. In 21, the attributes of the Manomaya Kosha, the mind, are imposed on the Atman. That's being shown. In 22, the attributes of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellect, will be imposed on the Atman. That will be shown. Basically, this is a Nyaya view. What belongs to the mind, it seems to belong to the Atman, and they say no, it is in the Atman. Happiness, sadness and all this, enjoyment, pleasure, pain. Now look at the example. This is also a very nice poetic example. The moon, imagine a bright moonlit night. The moon is reflected in a pool of water. The moon is reflected in a pool of water. And a little wave in that water, and the moon seems to ripple. And it's not even the moon, it's the reflection of the moon which seems to ripple. The real moon is of course unaffected. The moon in the water. Yes. Similarly, because of the reflected consciousness in the mind, all activities on the mind seem to affect consciousness, and that is superimposed on I, the real consciousness. And I feel I am walking, talking, thinking, the Atma, the mind, whatever the mind does, the activities of the mind. I remember, I want, I like, I dislike. It's all I. Who? I, the consciousness. But that's not true. It's happening in the mind and it's transferred to you, the consciousness. Appears to be transferred. Just like the yellow color from the flower to the water. Just like that, how it happens? Because the moon example is particularly cute. Because the moon is reflected in the water. The waves in the water will not be directly transferred to the moon. It is imposed on the reflection of the moon. Like that, I, the pure consciousness, am reflected in the mind. And whatever happens in the mind affects that reflected consciousness also. But I, through my ignorance, I am not aware of the distinction between myself and the reflected consciousness. And therefore, whatever is happening to the reflected consciousness, it's happening to me. Another example will make it clear. The mirror is there, and my face is reflected in the mirror. Now suppose I have forgotten that this is my real face for some reason, and I'm totally focused on that reflected face in the mirror. I think I am that one. Now if there is dust on the mirror, oh, my face has become dusty. If there's a crack in the mirror, oh, my face has become, there's a crack in my face. Whatever is happening on the mirror, if the mirror shakes in the wind, oh, my face is swaying in the wind. Why? There is a very good reason why I'd be confused. Because that face looks exactly like mine. And that face is the one I can see. I can't see this one. So it's natural to become obsessed, focused with that reflected face. And that's what has happened to us. The moon and the moon reflected in water is a good example. A very nice example. Ajnanat manasa upadhi. The upadhi. Which upadhi are we talking about? Mind now. Kartritvadani. The doership. I am doing these things, I am saying something, I am thinking, remembering, all these belong to the mind. Atmani kalpyante are imposed or imagined in the self. Why? Because first of all, the self is reflected in the mind. And that reflected self definitely is affected by the mind. Just like the reflected moon is definitely affected by the waves in the water. If there's a wave in the water, there's a wave in the moon also. You know what I'm referring to, the example of the reflected moon. If there's a confusion between the reflected moon and the real moon, if there's a confusion between reflected consciousness and me, the real consciousness, then this problem will arise. There's a beautiful concept in the Drigdrishya Viveka. Nice analysis is there. Alright. Now just think about these three. Pure consciousness, the mind, and the reflected consciousness. Now the question is asked, what is the relationship between that? Three questions will be asked. Take hold of the reflected consciousness. Hold means attend to that. Why that one? That's the most subtle thing we can be aware of right now. I'm aware of the body, subtler than that I'm aware of the breath, subtler than that I'm aware of the mind, emotions, thoughts, subtler than that I'm aware of the intellect, understanding, the ego sense, even subtler than that, in the ego sense, consciousness is there. You not only say I, but that I is also conscious I. Now attend to that consciousness in the I sense. That's also not the Atman, that's the reflected consciousness. However, now three questions will be asked. What is the relationship between that reflected consciousness, which you feel, all of us feel right now, and this body? Question 1. What is the relationship between that reflected consciousness and this mind? And question 2. And third question, most important, what is the connection between the reflected consciousness and the real consciousness which I am, which Vedanta is telling me, which I don't seem to know now. I don't understand it. But that's the question. What's the connection between I, that reflected consciousness which I feel in my I sense, ego sense, and the pure consciousness which Vedanta is talking about? What are the three questions? Connection between reflected consciousness and body. What relationship? And second question, between reflected consciousness and mind. What relationship? And third question, between reflected consciousness and real consciousness. I mean the original consciousness, Atman. What relationship? So the answer is given. karmajanyam swabhavajam, karmajam swabhavajam bhrantijanyam. What is the relationship between reflected consciousness and body? It is born, relationship is karma, your past karma. As long as prarabdha karma is there, this body will be there, and awareness which you feel, I, this awareness, it will be connected with this body. As long as this body lives, you, that reflected consciousness will be connected with this body. I am this, that feeling will be there. There is no getting out of it. And how will it go? By the death of this body. When this body dies, that reflected consciousness travels to another body. Along with the subtle body, it will travel. The example is, suppose there is a pot out there in the garden, and in the pot there is water, and in the water the sun is reflected. The pot is like the physical body, the water is like the subtle body, and that little shining sun in that water is the reflected sun, is like the reflected consciousness, and the sun in the sky is like pure consciousness or Atman. Now suppose this particular pot gets cracked, it's no longer useful. The gardener now comes and takes the water and pours it into a new, brand new pot. When you pour the water into the brand new pot, the water will travel, the old pot will be discarded. Death of the body. The water will travel. Now what will happen to that little shining sun? It will travel along with the water to the new pot. Earlier, the little shining reflected sun was saying, this is me, this is my body, that old pot. Now when it's been transferred to the new pot, it will say, this is my body, or I am this. The old pot is no longer. When the body is dead, burned, buried, whatever, you, the reflected consciousness, if you have like a near-death or post-death experience, you will no longer feel, I am that. It's gone. But I exist, I am not that. So that's the first answer to the first question. Second question, what is the relationship between reflected consciousness and mind? Answer is swabhavajam, natural. As long as there is a reflector, there will be a reflected consciousness. It's like a mirror. As long as the mirror is brought in front of you, your face will be reflected in the mirror. It's like asking, what is the relationship between your reflected face and the mirror? Answer is, it's a natural relationship. If a reflector is there, there will be a reflection. As long as mind is there, there will be consciousness in the mind. That's the meaning. As long as you are awake, you are dreaming, consciousness will be felt in the mind. When you fall asleep or the samadhi, the mind shuts down, that reflected consciousness is withdrawn there. But the most important question, the point of all this discussion, is the third question. What is the relationship between the reflected consciousness and the real consciousness? Because the reflected consciousness we can catch hold of. We have got some awareness. It's called awareness of awareness. It's shining. I am aware. From here you are telling me I have to become aware of myself as some limitless consciousness. I need to know the path, the relationship. It is exactly like a mirror is placed in front of you. You see your face in the mirror. Now I ask you, what is the relationship between the face in the mirror and your real face? Notice, the face in the mirror can be seen. Your real face cannot be seen. The reflected consciousness, you can be conscious of consciousness, or awareness of awareness is possible. The pure awareness, you cannot objectify it. Now, what is the relationship? What is the relationship between the reflected face and the real face? Tell me. Bhranti. Answer is Bhranti. No relationship. The answer is, the only relationship is stupidity, foolishness, ignorance. There is nothing connecting this face with that reflection. In a barber's shop, 1,000 reflections will be there. Dozens of mirrors surround you. Is your face connected with all of that? That will be terrible. Nothing is, there is no connection at all. It's a very natural property of that mirror to reflect your face. Your real face has nothing to do with that mirror or that reflection. Similarly, you, the pure consciousness, have nothing at all to do with the mind, body, and the reflected consciousness. It all happens because of your presence. This is what is being said here. Then, number 22. Ragicha sukha dukkhadi, ragicha sukha dukkhadi, buddhau satyam pravartate, buddhau satyam pravartate, sushuptau nasti tannashe, sushuptau nasti tannashe, tasmad buddhestu natmanah, tasmad buddhestu natmanah. Attachment, desire, pleasure, pain and the rest are perceived to exist as long as the buddhi or mind functions. They are not perceived in deep sleep when the mind ceases to exist. Therefore, they belong to the mind alone and not to the Atman. If you understand the question, you will understand the answer. The question is being thrown by the Nyaya school. Enjoyment, pleasure, pain, remembering, memory, all of them, they seem to be connected to me. I remember, I enjoy, I desire, I suffer. So they are all in me, the Atma. So no. They are all in the mind. Even the sense of I, that ego, that's also in the mind. But it is superimposed upon you, the consciousness. That is our Vedantic answer. One peculiarity here is that 21 and 22, 21 talks about the superimposition of the Manomaya, the mind sheath on the Atman, and mind sheath and its qualities on the Atman. 22 talks about the superimposition of the Vijnanamaya, the intellect sheath, and its qualities on the Atman. But the qualities mentioned in 21, they actually belong to the intellect sheath, Vijnanamaya, Kartritva, Aham Karta. This is the Vijnanamaya kosha. And the qualities mentioned in 22 actually belong to the Manomaya. Raga, Ichha, Sukha, Dukkha. He says Buddhau Satyam, in the intellect, but they are not in the Buddhi, Manasi, they are in the mind. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Basically, take both of them together, intellect and mind, and their attributes are in that intellect mind, not in the self. They are all active in the mind or the intellect, but they are not in the Atman. Why not? And he gives a crucial argument here. Sushupto tannashe. In Sushupti, Nasha here does not mean destruction, Leena, absorbed, resolved. When the mind senses, from your perspective, mind, senses, intellect, all shut down in deep sleep. In deep sleep, mind, senses, intellect, all shut down. In that case, all the attributes, desire, pain, pleasure, none of them are felt in deep sleep. You want something, a child is crying, nagging the parents for some toy or a candy. When it falls asleep, nothing. Blank. Somebody is suffering deeply in a hospital, ICU. Lot of suffering, physical suffering, mental anxiety. Fall asleep in deep sleep. Neither pain is felt nor anxiety is felt. Bodily pain is not felt, mental anxiety is not felt. Now our answer to the Nayayika is, if pain, pleasure, doership, enjoyership, sufferership, if those are in the self continues in deep sleep. So those should also be there in deep sleep. But as the moment the mind fell asleep, all those things disappeared. Therefore they belong to the mind, not to the self. In deep sleep, self exists, but that pleasure, pain, doership, enjoyership, that doesn't exist. When the mind becomes active, they again become active. So therefore they rise and fall with the mind, they are not in you, the self. further. You might say that doesn't help me much because I have to wake up out of deep sleep, otherwise I can't remain in deep sleep. And that seems like a yogic prescription, remain in samadhi. I have to wake up out of deep sleep, therefore they will all come back again. But remember, how will they come back? They will come back like this. Even when they seem to come back, they are not in you. They are still in the mind, not in you, the consciousness. This waking, dreaming, deep sleep is a wonderful analysis. It will lead you directly to your nature as the completely unattached self, as the witness of all the three states. Waker and waker's world come and go, dreamer and dreamer's world come and go, deep sleep and the deep sleeper, the pragya, it comes and goes. But whom does it come and go to? You must admit, by common sense, I am the one who was awake, I am the one who was dreaming, I am the one who slept. So I must be common to all three. If I am common to all three, but waker, dreamer, deep sleeper come and go, their worlds come and go, therefore I must be common to all of them and yet not attached to any one of them. When the waker goes away, I don't go away. When the dreamer goes away, I don't go away. When the deep sleeper goes away and again I wake up, I don't go away. I am common. Therefore, I am neither the waker, nor the deep dreamer, nor the deep sleeper. But the waker and the waking world, this one, the dreamer and the dream world, and the deep sleep state also, they are all nothing apart from me. I am apart from them. They are not apart from me. This avasthatraya vichar, the whole of the Mandukya Upanishad and Karika. There was this monk, Bhikshu Shankaracharya, long ago in Kankal in Haridwar. So one of our Swamis, Dhireshanandaji Maharaj, used to go to him. This is a very austere kind of monk, radical non-dualist, who lived under a tree and had what is called a charpoi, like a little cot made of coir and bamboo and wood and all that, and lived there and had only a loin cloth for his possession and nothing else. Didn't even have a house to live in or an ashram. So somebody asked him one day that you are such a great non-dualist, where are your books? Because non-dualists are supposed to have lots of books and YouTube talks and all of that. So where are your books? You are a non-dualist, where are Advaitin, where are your books? He said, I have 3 books and I study them daily. What are the 3 books? Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, waking, dreaming, deep sleep. And I study them carefully daily and I realize I am the 4th, I am the witness consciousness, Turiya. Then number 23. The nature of the self. Prakashorkasya to yasya shaityam agneryatoshnata svabhava satchidananda Nitya nirmalatatmanaha. The nature of the Atman is eternity, purity, reality, consciousness and bliss. Just as luminosity is the nature of the sun, coolness of water and heat of fire. 3 examples he has given here. Agner Ushnata, heat of fire. Toyasya Shaityam, coolness of water. And what else is there? Prakasha Arkasya, light of the sun. So they are always there. These are the qualities of the sun, the water and the fire. Exactly like that, what is the nature of the Atman, not qualities, nature of the Atman eternity, nitya, purity, reality, consciousness, bliss. It says Satchid Ananda, Nitya, Nirmala. Nirmala means pure, not affected by karma, good or bad. Nitya, eternal, not coming and going. Sat, existence, not an existing thing, existence. Chit, pure consciousness, not particular conscious experiences, pure consciousness. Ananda, bliss itself, not particular happy experiences, bliss itself. These are the very nature of the Atman, and he says, always it is there. Why has he mentioned this? In spite of the activities of body, mind, and the appearance of impurity, the appearance of transitoriness, the appearance of that I am a body or a mind or the three bodies or the five koshas. In spite of that, you are Satchidananda. When impurity seems to come, impure thoughts, impure action, papa, unhappiness, sin, the feeling of sin, the feeling of guilt due to sin, you are the pure Atman at that time. That's your nature. It will not go away. So it is like saying, even when the yellow color is appearing, it's colorless. The water is colorless, even when the yellow color is appearing. Similarly, even when all the attributes of the jiva, sentient being, ordinary human being are appearing, you can clearly experience it. You are limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. One sadhu put it this way, they are saying in Uttarakhand, I'll tell you in Hindi and translate. Tum jano ya na jano, tum mano ya na mano, tum hi Ram. Whether you know it or you do not know it, whether you accept it or you do not accept it, you are Rama. You are God. You are God. This is what is meant here. Just like the nature of the sun, prakasha, light is the nature of the sun. Just like coolness is the nature of water, heat is the nature of fire. What is your nature? Limitless existence. Not I am born on such and such date and I am going to die, I am scared. No, that's not your nature. What is your nature? Chit, pure consciousness. Not I am awake now. I was more awake, Swami, in the first session. Second session, I am feeling a little sleepy. More awake, less awake, and not at all awake, fallen asleep. After an afternoon session, that is the mind. Consciousness is ever awake. Consciousness is ever awake. Day and night are due to rotation of the earth. Day and night clearly experienced, but you go to the sun, ever day, no night, ever shining, never in darkness. Similarly, consciousness ever shining. The mind rotates like the earth through waking, dreaming, deep sleep. You see, a subtle point here, I'm just reminded, in talking about sun and earth and rotation. One of the greatest philosophers of the 20th century, maybe the greatest philosopher of the last century, Wittgenstein, Ludwig Wittgenstein. Brilliant man, very interesting and very brilliant man. So he used to teach at Cambridge University. So one day at Cambridge, this was recorded by his assistant, by a senior student, I think. So she says, I was walking with the professor. He looked up at the sky and he said, why did ancient people believe that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west? Why did people believe that sun rises in the east and sets in the west? And this lady said, but professor, it looks like that. It looks like that. That's why people believe it is rising in the east and setting in the west. Then his answer, listen carefully to the answer. Very subtle point he makes. Wittgenstein said, it looks like that. Wittgenstein said, If it were not so, what would it look like? If it were not so, what would it look like? Suppose the sun did not actually rise in the east and set in the west. Suppose the sun is there and it is the earth which is rotating. Then what would it look like? It would look like the sun is rising in the east and setting in the west. Suppose you are infinite existence, consciousness, bliss. You are not body and mind. What would it look like now? Same. Yeah. The difference will be not in what it looks like. The difference will be in our realization. It's a very beautiful point. What will it look like after I am Brahmagyani, this world? Will I be able to see infrared, ultraviolet? Will I be able to float above the ground? No. The Holy Mother put it this way. She said, after you are enlightened, what will happen? Will two horns come out of your head? Sri Ramakrishna put it this way. There was this clerk who was caught for doing something wrong. Remember, at that time, a lot of Bengali babus were clerks under the British Empire. So, many of the devotees who used to come to him were clerks. So, there was a clerk who was caught for some wrongdoing and he was put in jail. Then he was released from jail. Now, Sri Ramakrishna asks, Kerani, jailkhana theke beriye ki korbe? Dhei dhei kore nachbe? Naki keranigiri korbe? What will the clerk who has now been released from jail, what will he do next? Will he dance around like a madman or will he go back to his the usual profession? He'll go back to his usual profession. Exactly like that. When you are released from this bondage, this illusion of samsara, now what will you do? You may dance around like a madman for a short while because you'll feel very happy. But after that, life will continue. You will wake up, you will dream, sleep, dream, wake up again, you'll go to your job, you will work, everything will go on. Body will keep on aging, and one day it will die. Everything will go on as it was going, but you are free of it. Only difference will be you might smile a little. Little soft smile might be there. Yeah, that's all. One enlightened being can recognize another, it seems, by the look in their eyes. Yeah, but we cannot. So, then number 24. 24 and 25, we'll just read that. This, I need you to be awake to this. This is an important point is going to be made. Difference between knowledge and consciousness. Difference between knowledge and consciousness. Also, many questions are there. Doesn't consciousness depend on mind? Will somebody ask the question? It will always be there. These questions will be taken up. What does consciousness do for the mind? What does the mind do for consciousness? Does consciousness depend on the mind for experience? How does knowledge take place? Who is the knower? You are saying this is all superimposed on consciousness. But then, how do you explain the feeling? You have shown me that it is like the moon in the water, or like the activities of the cloud superimposed on the moon. The moon seems to be running. All these things you have told me, very nice. But then please explain, how do I get the feeling I know, I enjoy, I suffer, I do, like I'm sitting, I'm talking. This is an experience. Please explain it, how it is going on. And these are conscious experiences. These are not something going on out there. It is happening. There's somehow consciousness is involved in all this. So please explain what is the mechanism. He will explain now. 24 and 25. Atmana satchidangshascha Atmana satchidangshascha Buddhir vrittiriti dvayam Buddhir vrittiriti dvayam Sangyojya cha vivekena Sangyojya cha vivekena janami iti pravartate. Janami iti pravartate. Such a notion as I know is produced by the union due to non-discrimination of a modification of the mind with two aspects of the Atman, namely existence and consciousness. So deep, so many things have been said here. You are awareness, existence. There is a new word being used by some teachers called presence. Presence, I like that word. You are presence. In presence, two things are there. I am and I shine, I am aware. Presence. So you are existence consciousness or your presence. That's the Atman. And activity takes place in the body mind, especially in the mind. Buddhi vritti, chitta vritti. The two are united. And then the knowledge comes. Let me explain how. I'll give you one example. So here is a flower. Light falls on the flower and it rushes to your eyes, and your eyes. Notice what goes into your eyes. Only light, not the flower. God forbid. And you have to call 911. Is the 911 here, or what is it called here? 911, yes. So 911, what happened? He saw a flower. Flower does not go into your eyes. All that goes into your eyes is light. Whatever object that you see, the only thing that your eyes pick up is light, reflected light. And then that's also within instant, less than an instant, it's now an image on your retina. Less than an instant, it is tiny bits of electrical impulses racing along your optic nerves to the brain centers. And then next what happens? That is somehow, quote unquote somehow, nobody knows how. It is transferred to your mind. In your mind a wave arises. Flower akara wave. Pushpakara chitta vritti. A wave in the mind of the form of the flower. So far, it is all activity. Flower, light, eyes, retina, optic nerves, brain center, mind, they are all active. Flower akara vritti. Now what happens? You, the pure consciousness, presence, existence, awareness. This is reflected in that vritti, flower akara vritti in the mind, and gives the result, I know a flower or I see a flower. I see a flower is also a vritti in the mind. But this feeling of experience, flash of experience, this is due to the reflected consciousness. What did you do? You donated, you lent reflected consciousness and existence also. Atman also gives, this is Advaita, otherwise it will be Sankhya. This does not exist by itself. Light does not exist by itself. Body, senses and eyes do not exist by themselves. They are all lent existence and they are all lent consciousness by you, by your sheer presence. You did not do anything. Atma did not do anything. Atma just is presence. All the doing is done by the world, the senses and the mind. Especially the vritti in the mind, flower akara vritti. By the combination of these two comes the realization, I know. But, if this is in the case of an ajnani, an ignorant person, just the ordinary person, this distinction is not there. They don't know this distinction. Therefore, what happens? I, the self, the conscious being, am a knower of the flower. It comes. For the enlightened person, what happens? I am limitless awareness. In me, the knower, the knowing instrument and the known object are appearing. What is appearing? Flower is appearing. What is appearing? The knowing instrument. Eyes, brain, mind, all of that. And the knower also. Who is the knower? I, the consciousness reflected in the mind, becomes the knower. Using an organ of instrument, organ of perception, eyes. Knowing, focusing on an object of perception, flower, I become the knower of the flower. But I am neither. I am not a flower, I am not the eyes, I am not even the knower of the flower. Gatritva, I'll tell you in the gist. Gatritva, Bhoktritva, Kartritva are all superimposed on you. You are neither Gata, nor Bhokta, nor Karta. Gatritva means knowership, the agent of knowing. Kartritva means doership, the agent of doing any action. Bhoktritva means enjoyership or experiencership. How do you experience anything? How do you do anything? How do you know anything? There is always a combination, a superimposition of you, the pure consciousness, the pure presence, plus these upadhis. And all activities are in the upadhis. If you distinguish, you will realize you by yourself are not a knower, doer, or enjoyer or sufferer. But, see, there are two words here. Sangyojya, connected. What is the connection? The connection is the superimposition. Adhyasa. I am pure consciousness. But the very presence of these upadhis. What's an upadhi? This flower. It has served us well as an upadhi since yesterday. This flower is an upadhi. What's an upadhi? Sensory system is an upadhi. What's an upadhi? The mind is an upadhi. Ego is an upadhi. And because of these, the flower becomes the known object, the senses become the knowing instrument, and the ego with the reflected consciousness becomes the knower. In Sanskrit, knower is called pramata, knowing instrument is called pramana, and the known object is called prameya. Pramata, pramana, prameya, all three, not me. They are appearing in me like yellow color in the water. But without me, these would not appear. The yellow color cannot appear in the sky. You need the ground, the water, for it to appear. But because of the appearance of the yellow color, the water has not become yellow. Because of the appearance of the pramata, pramana and prameya, I have not become a knower. If I know the distinction, I am not the knower. I can honestly claim. While the knowing is going on. See, this is what enables the Advaitin, the knower, the Jnani, to be fully active in the world. And know that there is only one existence consciousness, please. The rest are all upadhis appearing, acting and disappearing. They have no existence apart from me. What did I do for the upadhis? I gave them existence. What did I do for the upadhis? I gave them light. Light means awareness. What did the upadhis do for me? They manifested me as a knower, as a known object, and as the knowing instrument. I am the knower, I am the known object, I am the knowing instrument. The Jnani will say that. The Jnani will also say, I am neither the knower, nor the knowing instrument, nor the known object. But with the Ajnani, the ignorant one, what will they say? Only one thing. I am the knower only. I am not the flower. I am the knower and I have some instruments of knowledge. That's what we say normally. This is the difference. Shankaracharya, therefore, now you can understand. Na bhojyam, na bhokta, na bhojanam. In Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, Shivoham. Neither knower, nor knowing instrument, nor known object. Neither enjoyer, or sufferer, nor the instrument of enjoying or suffering, nor the object of enjoyment or suffering. Neither doer, nor the instruments of action, nor the action itself. Karta, karana, karma, no. Avivekena janami iti pravartate. Without knowing this distinction, the ignorant person says that I am the knower. I am the one who's enjoying. Unfortunately, I am also the one who's suffering. I am in samsara. Number 25. Atmano vikriya nasti buddhi. Atmano vikriya nasti buddhir bodho na jatviti. Buddhir bodho na jatviti. Jiva sarvamalam gyatva. Jiva sarvamalam gyatva. Jnata drashteti muhyati. Jnata drashteti muhyati. The Atman never undergoes change and the Buddhi is never endowed with consciousness, but man believes Atman to be identical with the Buddhi and falls under such delusions that he is the seer and the knower. It's made very, very explicit here. Atman, pure consciousness, pure being, does not undergo any change at all. See, to be a knower, there must be change. Knowing is also an action. Enjoying and suffering are also actions. So I am feeling pain. I was not feeling pain earlier. Now I am feeling pain. What has happened? There is some activity on my skin when someone pinches it. Some activity in my nerves. Some activity in my mind. Pain. Pain vritti comes. So an activity. To suffer there must be activity. To enjoy there must be activity. To know something, there must be activity. To do something, of course, there must be activity. But all these activities are in the mind, are in the body and the senses. None of them are in you, the Atman. On the other hand, to experience any activity, to experience any knowledge, to experience any enjoyment or suffering, there must be consciousness. And the consciousness is you, not in the body mind. These two come together, appear to come together, just like the yellow color and the water. So, Jiva sarvam alam gyatva. This is not known to the ordinary Jiva, and therefore muhyati, deluded, thinks. Here he says, Jnata drashta, we can expand it. Jnata, bhokta, karta, knower, enjoyer, sufferer, doer. I feel I am the doer of these deeds and therefore I get the results of my deeds. If it is dharmic, I get happiness, punya. If it is adharmic, unethical, I get misery. The law of karma begins to operate on me when I am the doer. So if I am karta, I have to be bhokta, the enjoyer or sufferer. And to know myself to be karta and bhokta, I have to be jnata, the knower. But all three actually I am not. And the beauty of it is, even after realizing all this, doing, enjoying, suffering, nothing will stop. All this will go on. But they'll become a movie for you and you will be safe. You'll be alright, you'll be fine. Jiva sarvamalam gyatva gyata drashtayati muhyate. Alright. This first line is so important. Atmano vikriya nasti. No action is possible in the self. Buddhir bodho najatu iti. There is no original consciousness in the mind, intellect, body, senses. They borrow and they superimpose. One more point. Notice, it said in 24th verse that the Atmana Satchidangsha The existence from the Atman is borrowed by the senses, mind, object, body and mind. In which what it means then is mind, body, senses and objects of the world, they do not have existence of their own. They are borrowing it from you, just like they do in a dream. They are borrowing it from you. Now it answers the question, doesn't consciousness depend on the mind for experience? Yes, it does, but no, it doesn't. Because the mind depends on consciousness for its existence. The mind is nothing other than consciousness. Ponder on this statement. You, the consciousness, are separate from the mind body. You, the drashta, are separate from drishya. Seer is separate from the seen. That's what we did. But now I'm reversing it. The seen, the drishya, is not separate from you. The mind, body and the universe, not separate from you. Let me repeat this. You are separate from it all. They are not separate from you. One sadhu put it very beautifully. ये तो ठीक है कि दृष्टा दृश्य से अलग है, लेकिन कभी आपने सोचा है क्या दृश्य दृष्टा से अलग है? This is true, that everything you experience is the seen. It is the seer and the seen are separate. Correct. All of that was correct. But there is a subtle little point there, fine print. The seer is separate from the seen. Is the seen separate from the seer? It seems to be so. After all, the seer, the eyes are separate from the bottle. The bottle is also separate from the eyes, true. But from the Atman perspective, is the bottle, the eyes, the mind, the body, are they separate from the Atman? Dream example will show you that. You are separate from everything seen in the dream. Because you exist without the dream also. You wake up from the dream, they are all gone. But you are there. And you were there during the dream also. But the dream objects and persons and places and events, they are not separate from you. They can't exist without you. You lend the people and the objects and things in the dream, you lend them existence, you lend them light. Anirban Baba was saying that in dreams we have a light. So you lend the light in the dreams, you lend the existence in the dreams. They have no separate existence. So therefore, mind, consciousness actually doesn't depend upon mind-body. Mind-body depends on consciousness. Okay. Let's ask one or two questions and we'll wrap up. Let's give a chance to somebody who has not asked. The lady there, yes.
My name is Raj. There's a duel going on between mind and the self, and the mind is asking the question, what is the purpose of this separation between the self and the mind? One of the things which comes to my mind is to become indifferent, to not get affected by sort of the emotions. Emotions are witnessed by the self. Emotions are felt in the mind, and the reactions of those emotions are there in the physical body or in the mind. And if, as being the self, we can't control those reactions, then what is the purpose of the separation?
Alright, first of all, what is the purpose of separation? First of all, truth. Is it true that the self is separate from the mind? It could be that self is not separate from the mind. Mind itself is the self. Then all of this falls apart. So first, the demonstration is to show that you are not the mind. First of all, for the sake of truth. Who am I? What am I? Second, the real deep purpose of all of this is to show that once you know the real self, and remember this is Advaita Vedanta, always there is a motive behind all this. The motive is to establish non-duality. Once you know the real self, what is the real self? Pure consciousness, pure being, Sat Chit, he said. Then you can go on to show everything else is a manifestation of you, the real self. Nothing is a second reality apart from you, the real self. that you cannot show on the basis of the body. Body is not non-dual. There are so many bodies, you can count. Mind is not non-dual. There are so many minds, you can see here. Take an opinion poll, you will get 1,000 opinions. So different minds are there, different bodies are there. But consciousness is that singular which does not have a plural. Who said that? Heisenberg said that. Consciousness is that singular which does not have a plural. But long before Heisenberg, Krishna said it. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Know me alone to be the knower of the one knower of the field in all fields. So that one consciousness is established. And then everything is an appearance in that consciousness. Okay. Now your question was a practical question. Suppose I have done this, but still, what about the reaction in the body mind? First of all, realize thoroughly whether you control it or not, whether it can be changed, whether it can be made better or not. You are not affected. Just as the water is not affected by the yellow color. Now the water says, I don't want the yellow color. All this yellow and water distinction, will it help me to become red? It can. But first of all, you must come to the understanding that there is really no yellow color in me. And therefore, when I want the yellow color to be changed for red color or something else, when I want the disturbance in the mind to be changed into peace in the mind, it is an interesting project. You can do it, a project of self-improvement. You can take it from here to becoming a Jivan Mukta, to becoming a great saint, to becoming a much more perfect individual in the body mind, knowing all the time it is nothing to you. After all, as one sadhu said, how many bodies and minds will you improve? So, it can be done. And once you know the difference like this, the doing is much easier. See, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, meditation, all of these are very difficult when we feel ourselves to be body-mind. Karma yoga, selfless action, always selfish tendency will be there. Why should I do anything for somebody else? I am not getting anything out. I am pouring out my energies, see, body, my energies, my time, my money for somebody else who is not connected to me at all. Clearly not connected. This is my body, that's a different body. I understand doing something for my family, but why others? Karma yoga is difficult if you are body-mind. Bhakti yoga is difficult if you are body-mind. The love is always for the world and for something that is concrete and visible. Some God, somewhere, I am supposed to love God. I will try, but it's very mechanical. I don't feel it. That's Bhakti yoga. Very difficult. Raja yoga is very difficult. Sit and try to meditate quietly. Mind is continuous and restless. Mano durnigraham chalam. Krishna says. He agrees. Arjuna says, all this meditation you are teaching me is useless. Because I can't, my mind is so restless. And Krishna agrees. You are asamshayam mahabaho, mano durnigraham chalam. You are right, O great warrior. The mind is very difficult to control. But now, imagine now, just for a moment, this has taken effect and you are very clear and you are settled in this idea. I am the never changing ground of this appearance of mind-body world. I am the ever-shining consciousness. Now, this knowledge is where? It's in the mind. Then great freedom comes, a sense of freedom. The sense of urgency also goes away. You realize you are not the mind. And therefore, the control of the mind becomes that much easier. My limitation limited nature's body-mind. This is what is making difficult all spiritual practices. Moment I realize I am not the body-mind, I am the one consciousness. In this mind itself that knowledge is there, that I am alone appearing as all of this. Immediately selflessness will come easily. I will sacrifice this body for the welfare of others. It will come easily. I have realized myself as Satchidananda. Then real faith in God will come. What is God? Same Satchidananda with the power of Maya. I am Satchidananda with limited one body mind appearing here. God is the same Satchidananda with all bodies and minds. There is no more doubt that about the existence of God anymore. I have seen many people coming to Advaita and from there going to Bhakti. Real Bhakti coming up, belief that young people, skeptical, scientific, rational minded, inquiring, once their thirst for inquiry and skepticism is satisfied, that here is a solid philosophy based on reason and experience, Bhakti also comes after that. And of course the enlightened person, Bhakti will come. Because for the enlightened person, God is real, no longer limited, no longer a theory. And control of mind becomes much easier. I remember one monk, I cannot tell the name, he's still alive, very advanced spiritual seeker, one of the most advanced spiritual seekers I have seen. He confronted, so it's a very deep meditative experience at a very subconscious level, which we are not normally aware of. After listening to him, I said, and I still remember, I said, Maharaj, you are saying this, clearly you have got Atma-jnana. Nobody who has not seen the difference between oneself and body-mind can say such a thing. You will feel torn apart if you try to do it before Atma-jnana. Some of the fundamental pillars of the mind, you want to knock it down. You will feel you are being torn apart. You have clearly seen that you are not the mind, and therefore you are able to do this. He smiled and he nodded. Yes. He never wanted to say that he has got Atma-jnana. They will never say such things. But this other thing he mentioned, this gave me a clue. This is in Kathopanishad. In one place in Kathopanishad it's there. How do you control the mind and the problems of the mind? He says, first of all, realize you are not the senses, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect. The chariot example is given. Evam buddhe param buddhva. Realizing that consciousness is which is beyond the intellect. Now, from that perspective, control of the mind is easy. Yes. One that lady had asked, raised her hand. So let's have one more question. There. Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be Ritu, but consciousness. So I've told you my name as well.
Also, one more thing. Once you have heard all this, there is a tendency that I am consciousness appearing in this body and mind. Somebody wrote to me that writing that signed as consciousness appearing in this incarnation, this body, mind as Mr. Mishra. Just say I am Mr. Mishra. Right? So, yes, knowing everything, but then in conversation, in daily activities, just speech and vyavahara, transactions, should be as normal as possible. Anyway, I know you know that.
So one observation is, you gave such a good example about a glass. Now if we change the scenario, meaning the mirror becomes actually like the face I feel, I just struck to me that the face probably is the body. The scenario is changed. The mirror is the consciousness. And we would think, ignorant person, that the mirror, along with the reflected face, because the face I'm treating as a body becomes,
The jiva.
Yeah, something like that. The scenario. Now, on top of it, I need some clarification. You gave a very good example of the Tesla car. I think it's Tesla, the car without a driver. So on the side is the car with the human beings, with the drivers. Are the human beings being treated, or they are the witness?
No, I'm only saying in that driverless car, the AI car, there is no reflected consciousness. In the human being, there is reflected consciousness. Pure consciousness is supposed to be there everywhere anyway.
Oh, yeah. Just one minor thing is that because it's a very modern example, and it's a very good example that will stay with us, this car one. But the car nowadays, the experience part that you were saying about, it does have some
Speak into the microphone. Yeah.
It does have some memory, some storage. It can have a camera, so it's also like it might be even better than our experience on the other side. That it'll recall everything, So if we treat that memory as experience, can we?
Can you? When you recall something, there is a first person experience of I am remembering. When you fail to recall something, there's something as tip of the tongue phenomenon. It's just on the tip of my tongue, I can't remember. So it's a first person, your inner experience is there. That machine has a much sharper and much bigger memory, but no inner experience. Why not? That's what I'm saying. Memory, creativity, intelligence, sensor. Even a door in an airport has a sensor. If you go near it, it will open automatically. So sensors are there. All of these are modeled and they can be done artificially. But none of them have an internal experience. The doorman who opens the door for you in a fancy hotel and the sensor which opens the door for you in the airport, there is one distinction between them. The doorman has an inner experience. The sensor has no inner experience. Why not? Why is it so difficult to model consciousness? Okay. We'll do a peace chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Rupanamastu.